Okay, welcome to the first episode of the Transformed podcast. Today, my guest is The Gaming Pup. The link to his channel will be in the description, so make sure to check him out. And
Hello.
and today we are discussing the Judge Rottenberg Center. It's supposed to be pronounced Rotenberg, but I have no respect for them, so rotten. For a bit of context, I'm autistic. I was diagnosed for the first time at 16 and then got a second opinion at 18.
I'm also autistic. I was diagnosed at a very early age. I don't exactly remember when I was diagnosed exactly, but I was diagnosed early on.
And yeah, this is a institution that literally tortures autistic children for no fucking reason. So, trigger warnings. If this is upsetting to you, then please, by all means, sit this out. And otherwise, let's get into it. The Judge Rottenberg Center was originally founded under a different name in 1971.
We're going through the timeline first or the bullet points?
Timeline.
Okay. In 1981, Danny Oswald, at the age of 14, was killed while restrained face down to a bed at JRC.
In 1991, the founder of JRC, Matthew Israel, and another guy called David Marsh patented what would come to be the GED, which is a torture device. Literally, that's its purpose, to torture children.
Which that patent was approved 3 years later in 1994.
Then in October of 2011, the Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services banned the use of GEDs along with some other aversion therapy devices, with the exception of people who had a court-approved medical treatment plan involving them before September of 2011.
But in June of 2012, there was a United Nations case that alleged torture from the JRC.
And in December of 2012, the SDA sent a warning to the JRC regarding their use of modified and thus not approved by the FDA GEDs.
On the 2nd of January 2013, the United States responded to the UN case regarding the alleged torture, stating that the FDA had already sent a warning to the JRC and requested meetings to discuss ending the use of these GEDs, and that there were multiple legal investigations in the US determining whether or not to ban them.
In February of 2013, the state of Massachusetts announced its plan to seek reversal of court case allowing GEDs.
And a month later, on the 4th of March, the UN investigator determined that the JRC's actions constituted torture by the definitions of the UN and international law.
And in April of 2014, the FDA Advisory Board recommends banning GEDs.
In April of last year, 2020, the FDA banned GED for use in the context of
Of the JRC bullshit, basically.
Yes. That's exactly what I said.
Oh, sorry, you cut out on my end.
Well.
And then fast forward to now, in July of 21, the Federal Appeals Court rules the FDA does not have jurisdiction to ban GED in only one context, citing their classification as a medical device, meaning they have to ban it in all contexts or none. So they're allowed to keep torturing kids in the interim.
And who knows where this could go from now to whenever.
Yeah. There are reports that there are, I think, 55 people being tortured with them to this day at that center. Like, it is just inhumane. These are for things that people are born with. We can't control.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, there was actually one boy that was shocked 31 times for not taking off his jacket when asked. Now, only the first one was actually for not taking off the jacket. The other 30 were for him screaming while being electrocuted and strapped down. How is this allowed to exist? How are
Shouldn't
more
be.
people not upset about this? How is this not making national headlines every fucking day it continues?
I feel like a lot of it does get covered up, which is why it doesn't get talked about.
And then there's just the plain ableism. For context,
Yep.
it is illegal to torture prisoners of war and stuff like that. It is not
Yep.
illegal to torture disabled children. They are taking kids as young as 5 years old. They used to take as young as 3. How is this a thing? And they keep lobbying to be allowed to continue child torture. Why not just stop the child torture and stop having to spend so much money lobbying? Just a thought.
It's a thought, but of course they're not going to take it. They wouldn't.
No, because it's too profitable. Oh, and this
Yep.
is all funded by taxpayer money, by the way. In
Yes, it is.
2020 alone, they made $79 million. You know, with an M. All from taxpayer money, and all at the cost of children. And of course, there are some adults.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not less upset about the adults. People just listen more when you say it's children.
Usually.
Like, people will be like, oh, they're adults, they can take a shock. Or some bullshit like that, which is dumb as fuck. But unfortunately, when making an argument, you gotta appeal to the dumbest common denominator.
Just about.
So, yeah. We're stuck dealing with this.
Sadly.
And I know we did kind of gloss over the literal child they killed, but yeah, that's something they did at their California location. They killed a fucking child before these electrical machines that are more powerful than police tasers, which have killed people, were even invented. So yeah. Ain't that just... Oh.
That is just one example of a death that has been caused by them.
Yeah, they've also killed a 22-year-old.
There have been a lot of others. There have been a lot of others.
And that's not even touching the people that have PTSD from there that might not know how to handle it and take drastic measures. You know, because that's a thing that trauma can do.
With that group... Oh, sorry.
No, what were you gonna say?
With that group home that they ran in California, they ran it without any licenses, for one. including lacking a license to use aversives, which they used anyway.
Aversives basically just means abuse.
Yes.
They would, before the GED was developed, they would spank, deep muscle pinch, all sorts of shit. They'd spray them with water, which, I mean, depending on the strength of the water, it could be as mild as just a spray bottle that you'd use on your cat, or it could be a fucking pressure hose. It wasn't specified in the articles I read. So I'm not going to speak too much on that. If you're interested, you can look into it yourself. But yeah, all sorts of bullshit until he decided to electrocute children. Something that the US deemed too inhumane for serial murderers with no remorse. They've decided is perfectly fine on kids as young as 5. You think their bodies can handle that sort of fucking voltage without causing permanent damage? Like, what the fuck? And you may be wondering, oh, how is this allowed to continue if it's so barbaric? Money. That's how. They lobbied over $500,000 since 2010 alone to be allowed to keep doing this. And it's still ended up with them getting in trouble a good few times, but unfortunately nothing stuck.
With that group home in California, when it was forced to shut down, a certain group of parents used a loophole to reopen it as a co-op. And the then governor's law firm was hired to get the licenses to remain open, and that worked.
Yeah, he helped them lobby. Because, he was getting money. Corruption. It sucks. And eventually they did end up getting investigated after they had gotten all their licenses. And it was found that
especially after Danny Oswald's death.
Yes, that was the catalyst. It was found that there was rampant abuse, starvation, and malnutrition. There were bruises on the kids that staff was being trained to cover up from doctors and parents.
Though it should also be pointed out, most of the staff are not properly trained.
Oh no, most of them just have a high school diploma and that's it. Not even previous experience working with disabled anybody. And there are even reports of, during the electrocution of the guy that wouldn't take his jacket off from earlier, that staff was even laughing while doing it. I couldn't hear it in the video because my hearing kind of sucks, but seek out the video at your own risk of being very much disturbed and see if you can hear it. Because, yeah, laughing while torturing someone is just a new low. I didn't think they could get any lower. Turned out I was wrong.
Apparently they can.
And this place is still allowed to run.
Somehow, I don't understand how in the world this is still able to operate. I don't get it.
They're violating international law against torture, and that would be bad enough, but they are doing this to children that cannot understand what is happening to them. One teacher was forced to electrocute a child 4 times for getting out of his seat to hug him. He had to torture a child for trying to hug him. Now, he later started speaking out against this bullshit place, and rightfully so. Like, imagine What the fuck is wrong with people? And there are parents that are calling people that advocate against this garbage human beings that should see what she went through. Oh, not what her 11-year-old daughter had to endure, but what she had to go through because her daughter would flap her hands.
Yes, because what's more important is what the parent went through and not what the actual child went through.
And this is something that you'll hear a lot from Autism Speaks and their kin. Because Autism Speaks did promote this place for years. And they only made a quiet apology on their website after everything that they had done had come to light. But before that, had removed the Judge Rottenberg Center from their stuff without a word for a while. So they didn't want to apologize until they were getting called out for it and for their hand in it. Because who knows how many innocent people were sent there because of their fucking pamphlets.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
getting into Autism Speaks, that's a whole different conversation.
Which
Oof.
is probably best saved for another episode, but just wanted to mention their role in this. Because if you didn't know, Autism Speaks is fucking bullshit. I don't know why I sang that. I sing, okay? It's how I deal.
No, I'm not judge. I am not judging.
So yeah, we might do an Autism Speaks episode later on. Maybe in October, the Canadian Autism Awareness Month. 'Cause fuck April and Autism Speaks. I ain't using their fucking month. Nah, it's tainted. I'll use October.
I know for me, I do use April, but I don't designate it for with like Autism Speaks. I don't support Autism Speaks at all.
Oh, I'm not saying other people can't use April. I just prefer October. It's the Canadian one, and I don't have to deal with Autism Speaks campaigns in my face. I like not having to see Autism Speaks campaigns in my face. But, if any of the viewers, watching this want to see stuff about the whole shit show of Autism Speaks, and maybe even some celebrities that have been vocally supporting it, both in the past and more recently, then, let me know in the comments below. Please. I need to know if this is something I should research. But,
maybe.
Oh, and the Judge Rottenberg Center always advertised the GED as a last resort sort of deal, when it was actually the most common form of punishment.
Yeah, last resort. Put that in quotation marks.
Yeah, last resort for people not taking off their jacket exactly when you tell them to, or not responding within 5 seconds. Like, what kind of needy bitch are you that you can't wait 5 seconds for a motherfucking reply?
Which, the person's name, who we should point out, who didn't take off his jacket, was Andre McCollins.
Yes, I am very bad at remembering names, and I did not format this document very well. It is hard to find things. But, and after the Judge Rottenberg Center got in trouble, after, basically, an ex-patient prank called and pretended to be a supervisor, and despite numerous red flags that the call was not genuine, employees took the orders and woke up two victims
Mm-hmm.
to torture them, giving one of them 77 shocks and the other 29. And uh,
With
the the founder
one,
got the footage of it deleted and was charged with child endangerment and obstruction of justice. In a
mm-hmm.
plea deal, he resigned, and the new head of the office is, let me find the name here real quick.
Glenda Crooks.
Yes, she has crook in her name. I do not trust this woman. I know that is a superficial judgment, but when your name has crook in it and you run a child torture center, I mean, it's adding up. Just saying.
Which one of these students who did end up had to get treated for first-degree burns.
Oh, yeah. I believe it was the one that got 77 shocks, but it's never specified, so I could very easily be wrong.
Could be, but I feel like if it is the one who got the 77 shocks, then that makes sense.
Yeah, they got a lot more shocks. That's just why I'm thinking it's
Yep.
that victim and not the other. It's never specified, so this is pure speculation. Or maybe it's specified and my articles just didn't cover it. But, yeah. Oh, and another thing they like to do is starve people. If you get up during mealtime or talk without permission during mealtime, you have one of your cups of food removed until you have none left. And if you run out at the end of the day, you get a disgusting concoction with liver powder on top at like 11 p.m. So, yeah.
Though the food they serve is suspected to be devoid of any necessary nutrients those that those that you need to actually grow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not about to draw comparisons to. But let's just say there's a high rate of PTSD. And I wouldn't be surprised if it resembles the American border. Not to get political, but I mean, yeah. I probably shouldn't have said that.
I don't know. But what I will say is that when it comes down to those who have autism, it is not this deadly thing. It is.
It's not a disease. Our brains just
No.
work different. Do you really
And
think that I would have half of the Pokemon's Pokedex entries memorized if I were not autistic? Come on, people. I'm just trying to lighten the mood.
yeah, everyone who has autism is different. It's never going to be the same. You're never going to have two people who are autistic who are going to be the same.
You can find similar things. That is
Yes,
why
but
it's a spectrum.
yes, that is why it is that. Love you too. That is why it is a spectrum.
It's not something like the flu, where it's, oh, it presents the same 99.9% of the time. It's a collection of symptoms that not everyone has all of them, but if you have enough of them, you might be autistic. And the only way is to know is to see a professional.
Yep.
Preferably a professional that isn't a dipshit, but Not everyone has that luxury.
Oh, and the only way you can get diagnosed for something like that is through a doctor of some kind of professional.
Yeah, it's near impossible to self diagnose.
Yep.
Like, you can suspect, and. But you still need to see someone in order to completely know. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not autistic, there are some allistic people, which are non autistic people, that still need some of the accommodations that are made for autistic people. Because not everyone can be the same. Just putting that out there. For example, stimming. Lots of non autistic people do it. You may know it as clicking your pen or bouncing your foot. That is stimming.
Repetitive things.
Yeah. And there's no harm in this. Yes, self harming behaviors that can result, like be a stim, yeah, that does need to get handled. But there are better ways to do that than torturing them. For example, my mom worked with autistic people when she was younger, and one of them would hit herself on the head. Whenever my mom saw that, she would gently grab the girl's hand and hold it and get her to stop and calm down. When a 15-year-old handles this shit better than so called professionals, you gotta wonder what the fuck is going on there. Just a thought.
Yep, absolutely. And autism is of course, it's different for everyone. That's why it's a spectrum. But, for example, for me, a lot of my autism has to do with the fact that, say, if, for example, anyone met me in person, I would be very shy. But that is an aspect of my autism. That is one aspect of it. Or sometimes if I really enjoy something, I can talk about it nonstop. I can easily talk about it nonstop. I try not to do that.
Hey, everyone's got an info dump once in a while. I also try not to, but it's good to have a friend or two that you can.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of my issue is in communication. I forget words. I've exhibited a lot during this recording alone. I do not think before I speak. I just don't. And then, after I start speaking, sometimes I forget what I was about to speak. And then I have an oh shit moment. That is one of my symptoms. Another is, I'm incapable of eye contact. I wouldn't know my own mother's eye color if she had not told me. I have known her for 20 years.
I have a very similar issue. I have trouble keeping eye contact with people because I personally think that, say, if I'm staring for quite a long time, then it's creeping the other person out, so I don't exactly keep eye contact. It's but I've worked on it.
For me, eyes just plain freak me out. Like, they really freak me out. I have trouble even looking at, like, hyper realistic pictures of eyes. They're just creepy. They are to me what the word moist is to others.
Oh.
Sorry. But that does prove the point, you gotta admit.
Yeah, that does.
Anyway, back on to just topic.
Yeah.
Oh.
We got a little sidetracked, but it didn't hurt because it actually added to the conversation.
Yeah. One of their major advertising points was that it was attempting to minimize meds. Now, I am going to preface this with this is entirely speculation. I decided to record this the same day I'm recording it. I've put like 5 or 6 hours of research into this, and I did not get to this topic because it was a friend that dug this up. But it is possible, I'm not saying that they do, possible that they might withhold meds. Please don't sue me. This is entirely speculation, and I have to look into it further, and if I find anything, I will pin a comment with it down below, with like a link and everything. And I'm gonna put all the sources used for this in the description of this video, so people can do their own research if they want. Like I said, same day, this is just what we managed to throw together. Because if I do not do it day of, I will not do it.
But it is also best, if anyone out there is curious to do your own research into this stuff.
Yeah, we are not experts.
No,
I like to call myself
not.
an internet dipshit. I'm just an internet dipshit, also known as an internet dumbass. I don't know shit. I'm basically a parrot with opinions. I try to learn, but at the end of the day, I just know what I've been told. Or I get stoned and think of something that is way out there, and then forget by the time I'm sober, so I can't look it up. No in between.
Well, what else do we want to talk about this? What else?
I'm just looking through. Oh yeah, the shocks are reportedly given to 20 to 50% of the students. So much for last resort bullshit.
Last resort, my ass.
That's like saying nukes are a last resort, and then nuking everyone that looks at you funny.
Yep.
Seriously, they would shock kids for not responding within 5 seconds. Have you ever spoken to a kid? They're spacey as fuck. Or maybe that's just the kids I've spoken to. I don't know, I don't speak to many kids. Because I don't speak to many people, and I'm not about to make most of them kids. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Now, and I can't remember if I said this before, so sorry if I'm repeating myself. Like I said, I'm spacey. But, at one point, they have said that their age range was 3 to adult, but currently their website apparently says aged 5 to adults. At one point, I believe their oldest patient was in their 50s, according to a video I watched. Now take this with a grain of salt, because this is from a video. So.
Don't
Oh, and here's a little
know exactly if the video is confirmed or not.
Yeah. Oh, and here's a little disturbing fact. Over 6 people have died at JRC and their connected institutions over the years. Six innocent
A
people.
lot more than just 6.
Oh, yeah, that's just six confirmed. I highly doubt that's taking into account the depression and PTSD that people would be going through after getting free.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's taking that into account at all.
Which is just horrific. Like, who knows how many deaths they've caused for a so called therapy center. Last I checked, therapy centers, well, actually, it's a school, but it brands itself as a therapy center. Last I checked, they aren't supposed to kill their patients. Last I checked,
No, not
that is a bad thing.
that is, but they cover it up. They most likely cover it up.
Oh, yeah, and there have been so many lawsuits. They used to move around all the time to avoid the lawsuits until they settled down where they are now, back in, I believe it was the 90s. But it might have been the early 2000s. Like I said, spacey, bad memory. Bear with me. That should be my slogan. Bear with me. Now, here's something that staff would sometimes do, and probably still do. Wake people with electric shocks. Sometimes for things they did hours before. Like, if they did it hours before, I mean, preferably not do it all, but if they did it hours before, why not do it when they did it?
But again, preferably they don't do it at all.
Yeah. But sometimes you just gotta point out the flawed logic on top of the awful morals. And by awful,
Yeah.
I mean non-existent. They are rotten to the core. Hence calling them the Rottenberg Center. I cannot believe that it is illegal to torture prisoners of war, which is the right thing to do, but not illegal to torture children. Like, it's the right thing to make it illegal to torture prisoners of war. I realized after the fact that it sounded like I was saying it's the right thing to torture people. No. It's the right thing to make it illegal. But also make it illegal to torture children. Like,
Yep.
What did these kids ever do to you? Not look you in the eye?
Then by that point, it would turn into child endangerment and abuse.
And, in the worst cases, child murder.
Yep.
Like in the case of Danny Aswell. And multiple of the victims' families have sued the JRC, but they're somehow still running. And, like I said earlier, people calling advocates like us pieces of human garbage for saying, hey, maybe don't torture children because now her kid doesn't flap her hands. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're part of the problem.
I feel like there's a lot of people who just don't understand autism.
Yeah, I know.
Understand what it truly is.
That should be a course in schools.
It should be.
America, get on that.
Uh,
I know you won't, but I'm saying it anyway. Canada needs to get on that either. Or two.
Yeah.
Not saying that. Like,
I think a lot of countries need to.
Oh, yeah. Like, at the very least, teach kids that autism is a spectrum, so that if one of their classmates gets diagnosed as autistic, they're less likely to be bullied about it. Like, at the very least. That is bare minimum shit. 'Cause when I was in high school, some people knew I was autistic, not everyone knew. And we watched a movie that had stereotypes of autistic people. And I went to the substitute teacher that was showing the movie and said, hey, I'd appreciate it if you would, like, either let me leave the class or explain to these students that autism is a spectrum, because I can guarantee you half of them don't know. And she just went, oh, I'm sure they all know. And they bullied me for it. Thanks a lot, Miss Bitch. I told you you needed to tell them.
Just
Seriously.
those who get bullied for being different, or say they have some kind of mental disability, essentially.
They're just... There is a reason.
I remember I've seen quite a lot of it.
There is a reason the suicide rate for people with disabilities is so high, especially when they're in high school. There's a reason for that. Because people are awful. Especially in high school.
Yeah.
And also, don't ever assume a 10th grader knows anything ever. Like, just a thought. If it's regarding social issues, just don't assume they know. Like, it's a bad idea. Oh, here's a little horrifying fact that I forgot to mention. The GED had to be worn in the shower. Electricity and water.
They don't mix well.
Now, they claim that the GED could be removed for bathing, but a victim of there said that actually it couldn't. You would have your arm attached to it and it would have to be left outside of the shower. So you just never get to wash that arm, I guess.
Ugh.
And there have been studies suggesting that PTSD may present differently in autistic people. So, the PTSD rate, while I haven't found any figures on it, I'm willing to bet it's damn near 100% in people from that fucking institution. I can't even call it a school. I can't.
It's not a school. It's not a school.
It calls itself
It doesn't
one.
classify as one.
Oh, it's registered as a school.
Though it doesn't classify as it.
Yeah. It's a torture camp. Like, this is borderline eugenics.
Mm-hmm.
Torturing people until they're quote-unquote normal. Where have we seen that before?
The whole idea of quote-unquote normal I don't get it. Because when I really look at it, there is no such thing as normal.
Yeah, like, there
It
really
doesn't
isn't.
exist.
Normal means that 51% of more are exactly the same on this issue. That isn't really a thing. Because even if people aren't autistic, there are people with depression, there are people with anxiety. And if the people with no mental illnesses at all doesn't exceed 51%, then it's not normal to not have a mental illness. Shocker. And considering most people do have a mental illness,
Most people do.
I'd say, using their logic, it's not normal to not have one.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel, Karen?
The whole idea of what normal is, it's a society thing. Society has this idea that people are supposed to be this way or that way, when
And the way that people
it
are is...
doesn't work like that.
And the way that people are supposed to be is conveniently the way that specific person's saying it is.
Yep.
99.9% of the time. So,
But
I think it's mostly
it
just
doesn't work like
projecting.
that.
It's just people wanting to feel superior over other people. But we're people. You are not superior. We are equal. Bitch.
But this does relate, but also at the same time, it doesn't. Even, say, for example, if we were all the same, all of us, every single human being on this planet was similar in every single way, we would still group people up.
Yeah. It's just,
You would still have people who would group people up.
it's human nature. If race was just something that didn't a thing, like everyone was the same skin tone, then I'm willing to bet we'd start dividing people by their noses. Or by their hand
You
size.
you would still have people dividing.
Yeah. Or hell, divided by what fucking hat they wore.
Or if they wore no hat.
Yeah. Fucking hatties. Like, does that make sense to you? If it doesn't make sense to divide people by hats, then it shouldn't make sense to divide them by any other thing. The only reasonable way to divide people is if they're hurting anyone. Then yeah, you stick them in a box.
Yep.
If they're hurting
The bad
someone,
people.
you stick them in a box.
Yep, the bad people. You put those bad people in a box.
Or better yet, on an island.
Yeah. Oh, you probably wouldn't want them all on an island together.
This island would not have technology.
Well, even then.
Let them get a taste of their own medicine. I don't care. But the only ones that go there are the ones that, like, are non-remorseful. Everyone else gets the box. Like, Alec Manassian. Stick him on an island. Fuck. And for anyone who doesn't know who Alec Manassian is, he's the incel that ran over a bunch of people in Toronto a few years back because no one would fuck him.
That I had no idea about.
Yeah, it's Canadian news.
Yeah,
He tried
I never
to
hear about Canadian news.
he tried to claim that he couldn't be found guilty because he's autistic. But the judge was like, nah, bitch, you'll get in prison.
That's a terrible defense.
Yeah. But he somehow managed to find a quote-unquote doctor who would agree with him. Like, oh, autistic people can't have empathy. Bitch, yeah, we fucking can. He just doesn't. He's a fucking incel that was friends with Elliot fucking Roger.
Plus, that whole defense paints, or could easily paint autistic people in a bad light.
Oh yeah, a lot of autistic people, including myself, were fucking outraged when I heard that shit. Like, I was shaken and in tears, almost as bad as I was this morning when I saw that the GED got unbanned.
Yeah, I looked it up. I saw an article about it.
Like, I was just scrolling through TikTok, minding my own business, and then I see this shit. Like, is this really what I want to see at 2 p.m. in the morning? Because that's when I woke up, 2 p.m. I figured that might need explaining, because that might sound confusing. Like, I immediately went and got the petition, although petitions historically don't do much. And
No, they do not.
I shared it anyway, just for the very bare minimum to make sure people know about this. Because that's the best thing petitions are good for. Letting people know about something.
Awareness.
Petitions are very easily ignored, especially internet
Yeah.
petitions.
Yeah.
But it tells people about it, which gets eyes on it, which could pressure some change. Theoretically.
In theory, yes.
In practice, money does a better job, and I'm kind of broke, so. I am going to be linking a song down below. They're a really good autistic charity that has been fighting the JRC for years. So if anyone wants to donate towards this, they're probably your best bet. They're a really good charity. I support them 100%. Yeah. They're the best one I've found.
Hopefully the fight continues because it needs to end.
Yeah. Like, how does the so-called land of the free and home of the brave allow this?
I don't even know.
When people are too fucking cowardly to stick up for literal children. And
I don't even know.
Be tortured.
I don't even know how my own country allows any of this to happen.
I mean, it would be bad enough if it was going on in, like, Russia. That would be bad enough. But America? I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. Honestly, they have a really bad track record with disabled people. Most countries do, but not all.
A lot of countries do.
I believe there are some, like, Scandinavian countries that are really good about it. But I don't know which ones off the top of my head. Oh yeah, and Andre McCullens, the guy that didn't take off his jacket, he was in a coma for 3 days after they tortured him. And his mom later sued. I don't know what came of the lawsuit, but yeah.
Probably nothing.
They made an 18-year-old boy autistic because he didn't take off his... Or not autistic. Comatose. An 18-year-old autistic boy. Brain go burr. I have one brain cell, okay? They made him comatose over a fucking jacket. And they laughed while they did this to him. These people need to be imprisoned for the rest of their fucking life. I'm not usually an advocate of prison. I typically prefer reform. But there are some people that you just cannot reform. Like people that would laugh while torturing someone. For screaming while being tortured.
Usually those people, they definitely have something wrong with them.
And they need to be locked up before they can hurt anyone else. Definitely receive care while locked up.
Oh, yeah.
But they need to be locked up.
Yes.
Like, this isn't normal. You were watching someone suffer. And while I haven't seen anyone say that it was racially motivated, I do feel it pertinent to point out that I do believe he was black. I saw a picture of what was said to be him in the video I watched, and the picture was of a black teenager. So unless they used just a random picture, he was black. And we all know the U.S.'s track record with racial minorities.
Or just minorities in general.
Yeah. And when these things collide, it is usually a deadly combination. I am really glad he survived this. I'm not glad that he has to deal with the trauma from this, but I'm glad he survived.
Can't even imagine what kind of trauma. I can't even.
I hope he got actual good help after this, but I can very easily see how that would make someone afraid to seek any help. Because the last time they got help, they were tortured. Like, I mean, I just had a therapist insult me and I didn't go back to therapy for a year. Like, I can't imagine this. My brain does not compute. How is this happening in the 21st century? Like, we've failed as a species.
To some extent, yeah.
And we need to fix this. I think part of the problem is most of the policies that would help disabled people are seen as socialist or communist, and America doesn't like that.
Well, the whole idea behind, like, communist and socialist gets confused.
Yeah, and the definitions have changed a lot.
Plus, when it comes down to it, like, when it comes down to, say, for example, socialism, you have to put democratic socialism.
Yeah.
And it's
Democratic socialism.
completely different.
Democratic socialism is a good thing. Canada has an extent of it. It's not nearly enough, but I'm lucky that we have the extent that we do. We have free healthcare. We don't have free pharmacare.
If only here in my country we had free healthcare.
Yeah. And that's not to mention the exorbitant prices on life-saving medicine, like insulin. Like, and I'm lucky that the medicine I need to keep my skin from falling off is only $60 a month. I still can't afford it and thus cannot take it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm lucky that it's only that much. Like, I could very easily see that being like $1,000 a month in America. Easily.
It's probably not 1,000, but it's probably a lot more.
Are you sure about that? Once they
Or
find
it could
out
be, I don't know.
Once the companies find out there are people that are allergic to soap to the point their skin falls off, that price gonna go up real quick.
Yeah, because it's all about making money. The capitalist system does not work. I am just going to say this. I don't care what people think about that. It doesn't work.
Oh, I agree. I'm a full-on commie. Not the Soviet version of communism. That wasn't even communism. It was just labeled communism. Just like Nazis weren't socialism, they just called themselves that. Because it was the hip, trendy politics.
I have more of a progressive mindset. So I believe in climate change. I believe in free healthcare. I believe that college should be free.
Honestly, it's bad that this stuff is even seen as left-wing.
Yeah.
There are countries over in Europe, I can't remember which ones, that it's literally illegal to charge tuition for literally any schooling, which means you can go there from here and get free college. You won't have to pay a dime. If I could afford the plane trip, I would be getting on it tomorrow.
It amazes me. But that's a completely different topic. We could do a whole video on.
Honestly,
or a whole podcast on.
We're just making a list of things we need to do podcasts on.
I definitely have some topics that I would like to talk about as well at some point.
Oh, yeah. So do I.
if you'd like to have me back again,
Oh, I'd love to.
because I would absolutely love it.
I do have a friend that wants to co-host these podcasts in future, but was unable to set up in time for tonight's recording because bit last minute.
Yeah.
But 3 hosts that maybe rotate in and out, and then a guest, that is very easily done.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'll be the constant because my channel.
Yeah. Yep.
But have some friends that rotate in and out depending on how interested they are in each specific topic.
Mm-hmm.
If you like the sounds of that, let me know in the comments below. This is definitely a much easier video to make than most. I like this format.
It's not a bad format.
Yeah.
But, I guess we'll end the podcast here. I mean, we've talked about what we really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But...
I can't seem to find anything in our list that we still need to mention.
Neither can I, but what I will say is that, just to end this off, autism, it's not a disease, it is not a killer. We are who we are. We're unique.
We're born this way.
Exactly. We have no choice.
And it does have a strong genetic component.
Yes, it is a genetic thing. I should also point that out. Vaccines don't cause this.
It is literally impossible for vaccines to cause anything other than adults and allergic reactions in people with allergies. That's it.
Because I will say this. If, say for example, vaccines did cause autism, everyone would have it.
Literally everyone. Except for the tiny minority of people that, again, cannot get vaccinated for either allergies or they're immunocompromised.
Yes.
And if you can get vaccinated, get vaccinated. We all need you to. It all crumbles if you don't.
Especially with COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
If you are willfully deciding not to get the vaccine, not because you're immunocompromised or because of health issues, I don't get it.
Oh, neither do I. The only reason I don't have mine is because my health card is expired, and I can't get a new one until my name change comes in the mail, and the name change has been dragging its feet for 6 months.
Well, hopefully you get a name, it comes in soon.
Hopefully, because I want that vaccine. I really do.
Yeah.
I want to not die. Because I have pre-existing conditions that will kill me if I get it. I have respiratory problems that luckily have lightened up as the years have gone on. But they're still not the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I have what is suspected to be an autoimmune disorder, but I can't get the tests done where I am, and I can't travel, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm kind of fucked if I get it. I need that vaccine. Government, please give me my name. I need a health card.
But overall, the misinformation is exactly that. It is misinformation.
Oh, I'd go farther.
The vaccines do work. I'm fully vaccinated. I know for everyone it's different what they experience, but they work.
Yeah.
They do work.
I've been vaccinated and I never got chickenpox. Not once.
I've got all my shots for whatever I need.
The only reason I didn't get the flu vaccine this past year is because there was a major shortage, and I wanted to leave it for the people that needed it more. I don't go outside much. I wanted to leave it to the people that are in need of them. The elderly, the people that are more vulnerable to the flu.
Kids.
Yeah. Worst comes to worst, I get hospitalized, and 99% chance I survive.
Oh, we don't want you to get hospitalized at all.
Exactly. And that is the worst case scenario. I have never gotten the flu. Ever. So, I'm lucky. And I have been vaccinated up until this past year. Because, again, shortage. And now with masks, it's even safer because it can't transmit as easily. I love masks. I hope they never leave us.
So I feel, even if you are fully vaccinated, you should still wear a mask.
Because we have no way to tell if you're fully vaccinated. We don't know for sure if it protects against the other variants. It only has a 95%.
Well, we do know, like, the vaccines work against the variants. We do know.
But we don't know if it's to the extent that it works against the normal.
Yes.
Like the Delta
But we do know they work.
Yeah. We just don't know if it works as well. And at most, it's 95% effective. That still gives wiggle room for you to transmit, even if you don't get seriously sick yourself. So
it gives about 5% wiggle room.
Please just wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Get vaccinated.
Plus,
if you can.
If you wear a mask, you can sneak some snacks in it and eat them as you go shopping. If you need that little bit of encouragement, then whatever, I'll give it.
I feel like we could do a whole podcast on vaccines.
And masks, because these days they are very joint.
Yeah. But in general, to end this off, those who are autistic, there's nothing wrong with us. We are who we are. We can't do anything about it. It's just...
Just let me look at the ceiling.
I mean... Yes, for those who... for example...
for those of us
may
who can't make eye
hurt
contact.
who may hurt themselves, then help is definitely required.
And there are better ways to do it other than torture. There is one proper way to do electroshock therapy. It is done under sedation, very carefully by trained professionals, and it is only in the most extreme of cases where nothing else works.
So,
and it has to be done by a specialist.
I personally don't agree with electroshock therapy because it's never actually really worked. The track record. Historically, the track record.
The old type never worked. There is a newer type, but it carries the stigma of its predecessor. One of the videos that I'm going to link down in the description does talk about it and then compare it to what goes on at the JRC. So, basically saying, this is what it's supposed to be. This is what they're doing. So,
I mean, I just look at the track record historically of electroshock therapy and...
Oh, the track record is atrocious.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. The track record... Honestly, we could do a whole podcast on that just in itself.
Yeah, we could.
Like a history one. There are a lot of things we can do podcasts about.
There's some ideas I got. But overall, we are who we are.
Please don't try to change us. It will not work and will just cause trauma.
No, it will not work at all. Like with conversion therapy, it doesn't work.
It just makes us
scientifically
pretend.
It doesn't work.
It just makes us pretend that it worked, so you'll stop torturing us.
And science is real. That's all I have to say on that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and for those that don't want to get vaccinated because Mo writes, Trump is vaccinated, his whole family is vaccinated, Tucker Carlson's vaccinated, Mitch McConnell, all these motherfuckers are vaccinated.
Yeah, Trump
They've
got
abandoned you.
Trump and his family got vaccinated secretly in January.
And then Ivanka later posted pictures and got much backlash because she did not speak up when she needed to.
Yep.
She just wanted brownie points after the fact, after she'd already done the damage.
Secretly got vaccinated without telling his supporters.
Yeah.
The truth.
As a Canadian, what is going on down there? Like...
Yeah, don't ask me. I really, I cannot speak for the rest of the country. It's a mess. But I'm hoping it's getting better. I really hope it's getting better.
I accidentally pulled the cord out of my headphones. I'd accidentally pulled the cord out of my headphones.
When did you do that?
I was gesturing with my hands and then my fingers somehow got the cord wrapped around it and I moved my hand down without realizing and it pulled it out of both ends.
Oh.
I am what is known as clumsy.
I think this is a good starting point for the first podcast.
Yeah. If you liked the video, please subscribe. I like number go up. Brain chemical go burr. I have to do the plug. I have to be sellout. It's what the YouTubers do. It's all I've seen.
Yep. And I'll also do it because...
Yes. Please subscribe to the Gaming Pup. And now
I post weekly gaming content. It is mainly gaming content, but of course on my About page I have a message that is... Well, it's a lot of messages actually of what I support, what I believe in. I am a primary gaming channel.
Yeah, and you gotta love the gaming channels. That's probably why you're here. For mine. Or from his if he decides to promo it. I don't expect you to.
I mean, I can.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt.
That was an awkward thing to say. Why don't I think before I speak? I'm sorry. Just in general. To everyone listening and you, I'm sorry.
Don't need to apologize to me.
Anyway, I'm gonna stop this. This is Transformed Gaming? Transformed Podcasts. Signing off.